Hey guys, it doesn't matter,
Ellen the Dream.
and this is a special edition episode of our podcast, Confessions of a Stan Mixer Edition. And today we are definitely making some confessions, some unpopular confessions. Today is everything between us. The new songs, our feelings about the album, the no music video, everything about it is today's podcast. Your warning now is that we were not fans of this whole album. um, Obviously, meaning like the new songs, the 5 new songs. So if you don't want to hear us critique them, this is not the episode for you. Go ahead, click off. If you love these songs, then you don't want to hear us talk negatively. You really don't have to. It's not that serious. Your life is not going to be greatly improved by listening to our opinion on the songs. Um, yeah, if that's not what you feel like doing today, don't feel bad about clicking off whatsoever. But I did just want to give you guys a heads up that is the direction we are going. Okay, guys, 2 things need to happen. This is a little insert for you guys. We're recording it at the end of the podcast instead of at the beginning like we should have. Okay, when we get to cut you off, there are trigger warnings that are happening for mental illness, self-harm, and just that kind of a thing. I can't exactly remember what else I mentioned, sorry, but just trigger warning when we talk about cut you off. Second of all, we put a disclaimer towards the end, and I'm going to timestamp it on the video because I haven't edited yet, so I don't know where it is, but it's towards the end. And if you are feeling annoyed with us during this reaction, I highly suggest you go listen to that first. So that's the 2 quick little inserts for you guys before we get started. All right, so you want to do trash first?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, cool. My thing for the trash audio, the first 11 seconds of Perry's beginning, I listening to it the first time was really excited about it. It was like the most excited I'd been listening to the whole thing. I think trash was one of the last songs I listened to. Heads up, guys, this isn't totally first impressions for me because obviously the songs did leak a couple weeks ago and I have already listened to them all. I obviously re-listened to them all for this podcast today, and I've been listening to them since they leaked. So I've heard them multiple times. So this isn't first impressions, but I'm going to try to call back to what my first impressions were.
Same.
Yeah. So yeah, Perry's beginning, I just really loved the storytelling potential that was happening. I loved the emotion that was coming through, and I was kind of excited to see where it went. And then Jade came in. So Jade comes in. I don't really love the way she's singing. I don't really like the extra kick in the instrumental that comes in, but it's not that bad. What really bothers me when Jade comes in is the background vocals. I hate them with everything in me. They're so distracting and I hate them.
They're very loud, louder than their normal ad-libs.
They're so they should not be that loud. They should not be that distracting. They should they're so annoying. I hate them. It literally just sounds like an echo. All right, then we go on to the pre-chorus. It's fast. I just have a note here that I kind of on it, and that it reminded me of American Boy. And then the last line of the pre-chorus.
Yes,
guys, we're so excited about this.
we've been talking about this for weeks.
We totally have. We have been talking about this for so long. Okay, so
I'm so excited for this part.
literally. Okay. This is the best part of the whole song, guys. Okay, so
It is.
okay, so if any of you guys ever watched Victorious, the Nickelodeon kids show that Ariana was on. Okay, so in one of the episodes, there's a song called "Take a Hint," a bop, by the way, and
It's great.
it's a great one. And shout out to Elizabeth Gillies. I mean, and Victoria Justice, but Elizabeth Gillies. And
Yes.
so the "Take a Hint" melody of, oh god, I don't remember what the words are to that, but
And that is when it started going south. Oh.
yeah. Okay, so that right there is literally the exact melody to the last line in Trash. It is exact. and it is everything. I
It's
mean, it's a
so
total
good.
rip-off of the song, but, like, I'm in love with it.
Yeah, it's like I love it, but it's really annoying because now all I hear is Take a Hint.
Yeah, literally.
But, like, I like it.
But, yeah, so best part of the song right there, happens multiple times, gotta love it. Um
Like, please go and, like, listen for it.
Yeah, you know what I'm gonna do, guys? I'm gonna actually edit that line into the podcast somewhere next or something like that, and we're gonna compare it back to back, and so that you guys can hear what we're talking about because it is identical.
It's
Um,
iconic.
yes, Take a Hint is such a bop. Okay,
I'm telling you is what we're gonna do. And that is when it started going south. Oh!
moving on to the next thing. A second verse to get nitpicky with the lyrics. I really didn't notice this until earlier today when I was like re-listening to the songs for this podcast. I didn't notice it like when I was just listening previously. But the second verse begins with like learn the only way that he's gonna learn. It just like as I was kind of like making these notes for the song and I was like doing more reflecting about how I feel about it and all of that stuff, like they came across to me as like kind of really condescending, like talking about almost it sounds like you're talking about a dog. Um and that just rubbed me the wrong way as I was listening to it this morning. So I noted it down. And then more background vocals that I really, really hate. Um I just have a note here that says yuck with the background vocals.
Oh.
Um, I hated these so much, guys. They're in Cut You Off too, and I hate them so much. I'll complain about it there too. And then I don't really think that the ending line and like the lines where they're like da 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 like trash really hits the way it was maybe supposed to, in my opinion. Um it it falls flat like a lot for me every single time. And it's especially weird at the end of the song. Uh but like personal opinion. Sound of the song. Okay, this critique of the sound of the song that I'm going to give is a critique I have of literally every new song on the album except for Love Sweet Love, and it was kind of a critique I had of Love Sweet Love, but after listening to the whole album, I realized that Love Sweet Love didn't do it as horribly as the rest of them. Um, just being honest. Um, it like the sound they're going for is very metallic, and kind of hollow and lacks like warmth and depth, like all of them. And it's like a huge critique I have of the entire album. It actually really, really bothers me and is one of the biggest reasons of why I don't like this album. There that sound was like in some of the confetti songs that I didn't like, and I'm pretty sure I complained about that um in the confetti album like review. I remember doing that. And basically it's just been like it's 1,000 times worse in this album. I just like can't I hate listening to it. Like it's not pleasant to listen to in my ears. So yeah, like that's like one of my biggest critiques. But again, it's a critique for every song. So since this is the first one I'm mentioning it, I'll talk maybe a little bit more about it when we do like the overall album thoughts. So I'll try not to harp on it right now. Concept of the song, I don't really like the idea of calling someone trash or equating their worth or like their value as a person to trash. I know it's not really that serious, but I still just like rubs me the wrong way. Also, like another generic breakup song, like very pop, like kind of a letdown. Like you only did 5 songs on the album. Like, why did this have to be one of them? You're all in happy long term relationships. Like, this clearly isn't actually relevant to you guys. So it's just kind of like, I don't know. It's like it's one thing when you write a breakup song and it's like about your experience and you can story tell and you can feel the emotion. Like Olivia Rodrigo's entire album is like all breakup songs except for one. And it's the same guy, it's the same thing. But it's so beautifully written and it's so emotional that that doesn't really matter because you can pick any song on the album to listen to and you're gonna be hitting the feels and you're gonna know how real it is. And I get that type of breakup song. This is like a generic breakup song that you just like made to go on the radio or to be put on an album, and I just don't really like that. And I feel like Little Mix has been doing that a lot the past few years. And it's just like I guess a pet peeve of mine. Like there's already way too many breakup songs in my opinion. So I really don't want to hear more that aren't rooted in personal experience, I guess. So that was just kind of my thoughts on Trash.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I feel like that's something that we've talked about a lot in like every single review
Yeah.
that we do, is that like we just want more variety.
Mm-hmm.
So Trash, I liked it. It's probably my favorite song out of all the new ones on the album. So like the parts I like, I guess really liked was I like the structure and the melody of it. It's just I don't know. It works for me. I like that. Um I really like the instrumental in the pre-chorus and the chorus. It's it just like it has that hint of darkness that I like in a lot of their songs, and it has the what did you say earlier? Sprinkle
It's
of
got,
down and dirty.
yeah, it's like got like a crushed up sprinkle of like of down and dirty.
Yeah, like it's like it's tiny, but it's there, and I don't know. My brain made that connection. I liked that idea, and I liked what we got, but I also liked the idea of it being even more like dark and similar to Down and Dirty, and even like lightning.
Yeah, imagine if this song was darker. That would be cool.
It'd be so good.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, that being said, though, I feel like the lyrics on this one are probably the worst.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
it's just the verses, pre-chorus, and bridge are probably the worst. The ones in the chorus aren't that bad, but they also don't like hit me like some of their other songs do. So this one I just prefer more of the sound of it rather than what's being said. And that's also a consistent thing I feel like whenever I hear any of their songs, or really any song, I always think of like the production and instrumental is what comes to mind first for
Yeah, I
me.
think that I mean I already talked about the concept, but yeah, I just think like this could not be more generic.
Yeah.
Lyric wise, like this is so super super generic. But those first 11 seconds, Perry, you have my heart. And then take a hint does.
Tickets. Yes, it's so good though. Like I really like that. I feel like the lyrics, like if they had been just a little different, it would have just made improvements to the song so much. Like it would just improved all the parts that I was like iffy about. Um
I feel like if the lyrics got a makeover, um, and some of the production choices, the vocal production choices, got a makeover, this had potential.
yeah. I mean like overall though, I'll probably put it on a playlist like here and there. Um I'll casually listen to it. But
I will not be casually listening to it.
but the yeah, it's just the lyrics that really like I don't want to say ruined it for me because like I said I'll probably still listen to it, but just kind of like put a damper in it. And then my next part I can't really say because we haven't done Between Us yet. So I'll get to that after.
Yeah,
Um
we did these both in weird orders.
different
So
orders.
yeah, so like some of my notes refer to other songs. So while I was talking about Trash, I was trying not to refer to other songs. So
Yeah.
we'll connect it all. We'll get
We'll
there.
backtrack. It's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's all I had.
Okay, after Trash, what do we want to do next? Cut You Off or Between Us?
Do you just want to cut you off? That's what I have like right above it.
Yeah, okay, let's do that. Okay. I dislike the instrumental of Cut You Off. Preview of No. um Trash, Cut You Off, and No have such similar sounds and instrumentals that Like, they literally all just blend and merge into the same song in my head, and I literally couldn't recall for you a specific part of the song, if you asked me to. Like I've listened to these songs, like, multiple, multiple, multiple times. So, that says a thing. The worst part about that is that I don't like the sound or the instrumental, so it's just 3 songs that sound the same that I don't like. Um,
Yeah, it's
so
one thing if you like that.
yeah, but unfortunately I don't. Um, yeah, and you guys know how much I don't pay attention to instrumental. So for me to be commenting on that, or for like the sound of a song, you guys have to know like how much it bothers me, because I don't like rate those things very highly. Like, I'll take that over like a concept, or like lyrics, or like, whatever. Like, I don't rate it very highly. So for me to be commenting on it over and over, like, it's really bad. Um so again, I think I mentioned this in trash, but the background vocals in the beginning, it's no, it's no. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it so much. Um, I just hate how it sounds, guys. Like, there's a lot of like irritating things to my ear production wise on all of these songs, and it makes it so unpleasant to listen to. Okay, for the chorus, um, the chorus the first part of the chorus lyrics were probably the best part of the song, in my opinion. Someone tell me how did we get here? It used to be so good. Nothing lasts forever, but I really thought we could. I know they'll be tears, but it's worth a broken heart. So I like that, that's something that like I can relate to, personally. Like, I've had relationships like that. So that's kind of nice, but it is very quickly ruined by the next line of, "If I can't protect my energy, I gotta cut you off." I heard that line in the snippet, and I've had an issue with it basically ever since then. And I was hopeful that hearing the actual song would change my mind, but it did not. So cue rant here. Um, I have only ever heard like the phrase "protect my energy" used against people with mental illness and trauma. Like, not against toxic or abusive people, but just about like negative people who like maybe don't like return as much in the friendship or in the relationship, who like just are down a lot, who like don't see the positive in things, who like aren't really always that fun to be around. That's who you like protect your energy from. You don't protect your energy from toxic people, from abusive people. You protect yourself from toxic people, from abusive people, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially. Like, when you're in abusive relationships, friendships, romantic, family, like whatever, you protect yourself. It's not your energy that you're worried about. So I've only ever heard it be used against people with mental illness. And as someone with mental illness and depression at that, I am often negative. I am often pessimistic. I am often not that fun to be around. I'm at never the life of the party. I have to try really hard most days to not be a downer. And I have to try really hard sometimes to remember that I need to give in my relationships with people, because my depression and my mental illness can sometimes be so all consuming that I don't even realize that I'm not giving back in my friendships. Like, I'm so focused on like just trying to get through every minute of the day that I don't even realize that I'm being self-centered, or that I'm not like pulling my weight in a relationship. So like, I hate that phrase, and I hate that they used it, and it ruined the song for me. I mean, there are other things I don't like that we'll get to, but it ruined the song for me, and it ruined that chorus for me, because when I hear that line, it just brings up lingering feelings of like shame and embarrassment and like worthlessness. Like, all the little paranoid voices in my head, that make me think that like people won't like me because I have depression, and like people will leave me and abandon me, and like I'm like a horrible person because I struggle with it, and that means that like I can't be a good friend sometimes, or like I don't like reach out enough, or like whatever it is, all those like insecurities and worries I have in the back of my head, it just makes me feel those ways. And so obviously that's not pleasant. um and it's not like super serious when I'm listening to the song, I'm immediately like down, but like it is a mood killer.
Yeah.
Like if the song is supposed to be empowering, like it literally just makes me feel like awful in comparison. So I hate it. I hate that they used it. And like the thing too is that like being negative and like self-consumed is literally a side effect of every mental illness I can think of, off the top of my head. That's what happens when you're not okay. And it's totally fine for people to other people around you who do know you and support you and love you to struggle in supporting you because of your mental illness, especially when you get into more extreme things like schizophrenia or delusions or anything that has like psychosis symptoms. That can be really hard. Or if you get into things that have like fatal risks, like depression, like eating disorders, things like that. Sorry guys, we'll trigger warning this. um, but yeah, when you do things like when you get into those things that are scarier, right? Like that can all take a toll, and that's totally fine. It can be super frustrating to support people who have mental illnesses. I've literally been on both sides. Like I have been the person with a mental illness doing the burden, but like to being the burden to my friends and family. And I have also been the person supporting someone going through a rough time, an extended, year, 2, 3 years of a rough time where I was falling asleep on FaceTime with them every single night. I was on suicide watch. I got scary messages from, a partner of theirs at the time saying that like they thought that they were going to hurt themselves, that they weren't answering their phone. I was in another state at the time. Like, I have been that friend. I have been the one trying to get them help when they can't legally or financially afford it because they need it. Like, I have been the one staying up late researching a mental illness that I didn't know anything about because they have it so that I could try to help them. Like, I have been that person. I have done both sides of it, and supporting someone with that is really hard. When I tell you that I did a shit ton of complaining to my support system about how hard it was to be their support system, I mean, I did a shit ton of it. But I never took it out on them. I never punished them. I never cut them off. I never made them feel worthless or like they weren't worth the effort, and that like my good vibe energy was more important. I don't know, that it really really rubs me the wrong way, and I have both experiences. I'm not just coming at this from one side. um and I just still don't think it's an acceptable way to approach situations, especially with mental illness. Like mental illness literally changes how you perceive the world, like every single thing, and I don't think people grasp that enough. And so, yeah, I'm going on a long rant now, but um that was just like it really ruined like the chorus for me. It kind of just like ruined the song overall. There wasn't a way I was going to be able to enjoy the song after that. It's just like too triggering of a phrase, really. Anyway, that's the rant on that. Moving on, I really disliked the post chorus of "I'ma cut you off" just because I didn't like it. I really hate the slicing noises throughout. It reminds me of included next part trigger warning. Reminds me of like self harm, and it almost feels like a little threatening too. Because that's not the sound of scissors. Like that's not a snip snip sound. Like that's like a knife or like a sword. Like that. It just sounds. I don't know. It makes me uncomfy. Then I wish it was Perry pouring. I wish it was Perry doing the chorus both times because her voice has like a weight to it that I just think sounded really good on the chorus and like made it have more impact. And then I was kind of really disappointed with Jade in the bridge because I really didn't feel any emotion from her at all. And I know she's capable of emoting while she sings. Like, I wanted to feel that, like, I wanted, like, where was the emotion from, like, I love you, you know, like, why didn't it have that? Where was the warmth, the depth, like the emotion, you know? I feel like it didn't have any of that. Um, and that was, I mean, that was the whole song. Again, it was missing warmth, depth, emotion for me. Like I said, it's my critique of every song, but especially Jade's Bridge. Like, I really needed it slowed down. Like, this was the chance to, like, make me listen to the chorus lyrics, you know, because, like, you don't always necessarily listen to the lyrics when you have, like, a pop song. This was, like, the chance to really make them hit home, and it just fell really, really flat for me, emotionally. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on Cut You Off.
Yeah, my thoughts are pretty similar. Um, I liked the production just overall, but let me rephrase that. I really liked the production on Lee's first verse. I don't know, there's something about it I really liked. And I liked the pre-chorus a lot just because of how it's structured. Like, for some reason that's really satisfying for like me to hear. Um and so I'm a fan of that type of structure and melody. Um Kind of like the same thing what I said for Trash. Like, I just like that sound. Um that being said, I'm not a huge fan of the lyrics. I know it's supposed to be shady, but like just some of the word choices didn't work, I feel like. Like, you know when you hear, like, there are just certain words that feel weird when you are listening to them being sang or something.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know if that's just me, but the example I have is like triggered and scissors. For me, that's just really weird to hear being sang. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Jade's pronunciation helped.
oh, that might be it. I never thought about pronunciation. Just thought it was like the word that was the problem.
No, my bet is its
Um,
pronunciation.
it was just like small lyric stuff like that where I would have used like a different word because whichever one they use, it just didn't have a flow that I felt like it needed. I also wish the bridge hit a little harder because I kind of like what you said earlier too. Um, but there's just like that huge pause after Jade sings, and you're expecting some big high note or harmony like there is in Happiness and Shout Out and just all those different bridges, but then nothing comes. Like, it just doesn't happen. And so it feels like it's just missing something because they worked up to it and then it just kind of fell flat. Um, that's really just my thoughts on it. Just, I liked certain things, would have done things differently. Um, yeah.
All right. Moving on to Between Us.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, if we're honest, we're a little scared. I know that no one is going to like what I have to say. And I considered lying to you guys. um like I legit I considered just faking an opinion so that it would just make my life easier. Um but you know, we've always like tried to be honest with our opinions on the podcast, so I didn't want to do that. So I'm going to give honesty a try. Um and you know, hopefully you guys can, you know, respect that, and even if you don't agree or don't like my opinion, you can just be respectful. I have that. I like the way it starts and opens with the imagery of lights down, curtains closed. I don't necessarily think that like it's necessarily like a great lyric, but as someone who has performed on stage a lot, I could feel that emotion of like what that's like. And so I really liked that imagery. I can understand Jade, which is great because then Cut You Off and what is it? Something else. Something else you can't understand her. It's no. And losing track of what we've already talked about. Um but yeah, it's not you know, it's not Jade Simlish in the building, it's actual Jade. So that's a positive for me. Um I really, really hated like the us of the post chorus. I don't know why I dislike it so much, but it's just not for me. I'm not a fan of the instrumental, like, a lot, actually. I wanted, like, a more like, a simple piano ballad, or I wanted, like, a DNA Unplugged type of instrumental, or even, like, a Nobody Like You, which is absolutely not what we got. Um, so I'm just not don't enjoy that part. I like that they dropped some of the like the song names and the lyrics. It reminds me of what Camille did for More Than Words. I wish they had included songs that meant more. Um, I mean, Wings is in there. Change Your Life is in there. Bounce Back and like Sweet Melodies, and those are the ones coming to the top of my head. But I don't know, like where's Shout Out to My Ex, you know? Oh, Power's in there. But like why is Power repping all of Glory Days? Like, hello. I don't know. So but I do appreciate the Easter eggs. The We Walked Through the Fire and As the Flames Got Higher is powerful imagery. I felt like it was kind of lackluster though, because that's like not their imagery. That's like very common imagery used in songs and poetry, and just writing. And I've seen it a lot of places. I've heard it a lot of places, especially in connection with like the line about being a survivor. I can think of at least two songs off the top of my head that do it, that came out long before this did. Not everything has to be original, right? Like if something's powerful imagery, it's powerful imagery, but it didn't feel like they did anything with it. It just feels like it's sitting there. So it didn't really have the impact that I would have wanted it to have, because there wasn't enough like oomph, like build up, I guess. But it is powerful imagery. Perry was like my favorite thing about the whole song. I thought she sounded great, and she was the only one I really felt emotion from. She was the only one I felt like was really emoting, and that drew me into the song during her parts. We have some metallic ad libs at the end, which were kind of yikes. You guys know how I feel about that. You guys know what I'm talking about by now, right? um, yeah, I just thought the whole song, kind of touching back to like Perry, I just think like the whole song was really missing some emotion. And I just like, I know these girls can emote the hell out of things when they sing. So I'm really confused about why this entire album is just not doing that. It feels like they phoned it in. So I don't know, it doesn't hit. I'm procrastinating saying the last two things. Um, okay, let's start with the first thing that you guys are really not gonna like. The idea of the song is nice, like the concept that a shared history between people can create a forever bond. But considering recent events, that very premise is already proven to be not true. So it's kind of hard to be sentimental or to feel touched by that sentiment in the song, because I already know it's I don't want to say fake, but like I already know it's not true. And then on top of that, on like a personal level, as far as like being able to relate to it, I know from my own personal relationships that it's also not true. um, that it's very much not true. Having a shared history and like shared trauma, it can create a bond that really feels like it will last forever, but it nothing is unbreakable. No relationship is unbreakable, and if you ever think it is, you are wrong. Relationships take work and they can be broken. It doesn't matter what you've been through together. So I just like in both ways, as like a stan and then just like as a music listener, I know the message to be not not true. And so it just really, combined with the lack of emoting in the song, it really takes out the punch of the whole thing. And so it's just left like feeling really flat to me emotionally. So that's the first thing. I know that's going to be a very, very unpopular opinion, and that I was fairly vague in my comments, but I don't want to expand more because I don't. And so I'm not. um,
But like going off of that though, even no matter what side you're on, because you know now in this whole situation there's multiple different sides that people are on.
mhm,
But regardless of whose side you're on, it's still the truth. Like, it's still there. Whether you hate Jesse, whether you love Jesse, like, it doesn't matter. It's obviously it didn't, something happened and it didn't last. So take that into consideration before you go off.
Yeah, like the shared history that they're talking about in the song, like, damn, we got history. She's in that history. She's in literally all of it. Especially by the time they were writing this song, she was in all of it. So clearly the premise of the song isn't true then, because that shared history can be broken. So no matter, like, again, like you just said, whose side you're on, or if you're trying to stay neutral, and hats off to you right now, you can't deny that, like, the premise just isn't true. It's a nice sentiment, but it's not real. Um,
Very innocent. Like, it's a very innocent, I don't want to say
yeah,
thought, but idea.
it's very naive.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, cut you off says, "I really thought we would, but nothing lasts forever." Like, yeah. So please don't attack me for saying it. I'm just pointing out the obvious. um, but it does make the song kind of just fall flat. I mean, like, even if the things hadn't happened the way they happened, and we weren't in this position right now, and everything was rosy and dandy, um, I personally still, it would fall flat for me on a personal level, because I know it to not be true in my life. But it would feel a little, it would hit for me as like a stan. Um, but neither things are true. So, we are where we are. And then the second thing I'm going to say that everyone's going to be mad at me for, this is really scary. These might be like the scariest things we've ever said on the podcast. Well, you haven't said anything yet, but well, I mean, you did say something. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. Number two, um, it sounds like to me like they're at least going on hiatus, if not splitting up, is what this song sounds like to me. There are a lot of reasons for it, but just like the most obvious ones to me is like, it's like what you say to someone when you're leaving. And all of the
Yeah.
imagery is about leaving, like that, like lights down, curtains close, like that's the end of the show.
And like reflecting on the history.
Yeah, and then like, here's my vow to you, like that's like when you start something new and you leave something behind. And what they're singing about is Little Mix. So like, you're it sounds like they're leaving that behind and moving on to something new. And yeah, it just there's a lot of things in it that just really make me think that it's a hiatus song. That's everyone's gonna be mad at me.
Well, because, like, that being said, too, like, because I agree, like, we're not saying that because we hate Little Mix and we want them to break up. Like, I see a lot of people accusing people of saying when somebody does mention this, it's just, just has that feeling. Like, there's been a
If
lot of groups that I've followed, and so I just know this from experience.
Yeah, it's just like, it's writing on the wall. And you know what? Maybe we'll be proven wrong. But I think after tour, Little Mix will go on an indefinite hiatus, if not a split. I don't really think they'll announce a split. I think it'll be an indefinite hiatus. I don't even know necessarily that they'll officially announce. They might just quietly stop doing group things. But I definitely think that Little Mix as an active group is coming to an end with this era. And I think that it's been coming for a while, and it's been fairly obvious that it's coming. I think the Greatest Hits album is a great example of one of the things that, one of the ducks that lines up in a row for you.
That's when it hit me. Like, fully hit me.
Privately, I know that I have been saying Tell 'Em the Dream, that I kind of thought this was the route they would go for many, many, many months.
Yeah.
Um, I thought they would kind of see out their obligations and then call it in some form or fashion. This to me really kind of continues to give me that impression. This very much feels like a goodbye to a portion of my life type of song. And that portion seems to be the Little Mix portion.
And if we're wrong, great. Like, that's fine. I would love to keep hearing music from them. Like, it's just the signs are getting a little more obvious, or at least pointing in that direction. Especially because now we've had the idea, so any like little thing is gonna tip us off. I feel like, um, but I also feel like it's just like that's where they are in their lives right now. Doesn't surprise me. Had they been where they were 2 years ago, right now, I would be like, no, that's not like even possible. But just because like two of them have kids, like Dan's engaged, Perry, Alex are like really settled, like Jade's settled now, and so
They're spending more time on their individual projects, which is fine. You can do individual projects and be in the group, but all of those individual projects take a lot of time away from the group. So the more individual projects they do, the less time they have for Little Mix, to be completely frank. And so if they want to focus on those things, which is totally fine and understandable if they do, it is at the expense of Little Mix.
yeah. And they've also been doing this for 10 years now. Like I'd be surprised if they didn't want to try other things.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, okay, so other thoughts about the song outside of the things that, you know, will make people mad.
So, my initial thoughts in between us, besides what we already like just said, I right off the bat wasn't really a fan just because it wasn't what I was expecting and what I wanted it to be. And if you've been listening to our podcast for a while, you know I don't like when that happens. Um, the I will say that the two parts that I really liked were I liked the first verse, Jade's part. It sounded really nice, and I thought it like prepped the rest of the song really well. And I also liked the chorus where they sing us all together. I don't know, I just liked it. I do think that this song is the best written out of all the new songs. I liked all the Easter eggs they included. I agree with what you said, how I was kind of expecting a couple different songs, like some of their bigger ones, some of the ones that really like made them blow up.
More like key to their career.
Yeah, like even like Black Magic. Like I know that that's like a
Yeah.
hated song in the fandom, but it got them a good portion of where they were or where they are.
Yeah, I don't know, like Salute or Little Me or like I don't know, like Black Magic, Shout Out to My Ex, like Touch, like I don't know, I was just expecting not necessarily like the
Salute.
song title per se, but like even just like an iconic lyric or something,
Yeah,
you
or like a
know?
reference to the music video or like a
Yeah,
collab
just
or
yeah, I don't know, something. I just thought that like they would be a little less random, I guess.
yeah. I mean, I did like the ones that we got though, so
Yeah.
and yeah, just like I like what you said too about um that one lyric. Like there's just certain ones that I was like, "Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's cool." So what I think made me not like it was the instrumental. It kind of just ruined it for me. Um the reason I really like Jade's verse is because I like the instrumental. It's very simple. It's what I was expecting. I kind of wanted this to be more of a piano ballad because you guys know how much I love those, or something similar to Nobody like you said. And I wasn't really expecting a pop hip hop remix, not really remix, but just mix. And so when the backtrack kicked in, I was like, oh, like it took me by surprise a little bit. But yeah, I'm really curious to know what it would have sounded like without that, because I can guarantee I would like it a lot more. Um, and so if they ever do an acoustic or some stripped version, um, I can guarantee my opinion on this song will change. And then another problem I have with the instrumental is that I don't like the ad libs at the end. They just, something about them is clashing with the instrumental. um, like the ad libs themselves are fine, like they don't bother me, but just whatever effects they're using on whether it's their vocals or production or something isn't mixing well for me. Um, I don't know. I feel like if they would have dropped the instrumental a little more and slowed it down, it would have been fine. But again, that might just be my ears, my personal opinion. But really, this whole song, I think the problem for me was just the instrumental and just the overall sound of it. Um, because I was expecting more of a ballad and I really wanted a ballad. um, so, yeah.
Yeah, I really wish this was a proper ballad.
Yeah, it would have, oh, it would have hit so hard if it was a ballad.
Moving on to no audio than video.
Yeah.
All right. So for no, I can't understand what Jade is saying again. Jade, Simlish Jade to the rescue.
Simlish.
This is my new nickname for Jade that doesn't pronounce things.
I love Simlish. Like, I don't know why, but I love when anybody, like, tries to I'm a big fan of The Sims, if you all can't tell.
Yes, this was something I learned after we had an incident, and I don't think you guys have seen that incident, but we had one, and there was a Sims thing involved, and it was a thing, and um, but moving on, yeah, so the fast pre-chorus just seems like a copy paste of Trash, and Trash was a copy paste of American Boy. Noah's very repetitive, which I don't love. I really liked the idea of No, well, what I thought No was going to be, rather, which is that I thought it was going to be like learning as you get older and you mature and you grow up and like you become more confident in yourself, that like how to say no to people and just how to take control of your decisions. I thought it was going to be more of like an industry type of song and less like a romantic song, and I just feel like that concept really wasn't, it didn't end up being what the song was about, and so that was kind of disappointing. To be fair, I did like make that up in my head, so like that's on me, but it just, I had hopes that it weren't met. um there isn't any real storytelling in the song. You guys know I'm a sucker for storytelling. I really wish that Little Mix did more of it, so that's always like a con for me when it's not there. um
Because when they do it, it's so good.
yeah, I just wish they did it more. The Rise Up Like a Phoenix lyric, is another, like, more powerful imagery, but it didn't hit because there's not really any emotion to the song and there's no build up to that line, it's like a throwaway. So they kinda did that a lot this whole, like, album. They used classic, like, well-known powerful imagery, but in really like offhand ways with no buildup and no like impact. It was kind of weird. And then again, it's kind of metallic sounding. It's lacking warmth and depth. And I have in my note, this was like I think this is one of the last songs this morning when I was listening to them that I was making notes on. And I said, it's all starting to sound like the same track, to be honest. Um,
Yeah.
and that's because I was like trying to remember like the songs in my head. Like I was trying to keep track of like what I was saying and like if I was referencing something, like which song it was. And I literally just couldn't. I was like, I have no idea what I'm referring to. Like I had to like go back and re listen to the song to know if it had the part that I was thinking of or if it was the other song, like Cut You Off, Trash, and No, are just like one giant tangled mess in my head, and they have been since the day I heard them, however many weeks ago. But yeah, that was kind of just my thoughts on the audio.
Yeah, I'm very similar. I feel very similar to how I feel about Cut You Off, where I'm pretty neutral. Um, I initially going into this, just right off the bat, No reminded me of Megan Trainor No, and so immediately I had not great expectations just because I really don't like that song. So I will say I didn't really give it a chance at first, but it was better than I was expecting, if that makes any sense. Um, I liked Jade's verses, like they the part that you hate. um, it reminds me of her part in Love Sweet Love that I know in that episode I was hating on it, but I've grown to like it.
She's coming around to Simlish Jade.
It's a process, but now I'm starting to like it a lot. So who knows? It might change again in like a couple weeks, but yeah, I'm starting to like it now. And so I did like that in this song. I liked the vocal production on the chorus. Um, this next part is really random, but I feel like the bridge reminds me a little bit of some of the acoustic and a cappella performances, especially Boy from Salute era, when they do just the big high note. Um,
Like the building harmony note.
yeah, it's just I don't know. It was a nice little like throwback, I guess. Like I know it probably wasn't intentional, but it gave me that like little what is that like expression like the time travel
Deja vu.
feeling? Yeah, I guess yeah, deja vu a little bit. Um the effects that were used in the instrumental towards the beginning and during Perry's verse reminds me of Holiday. The little doo. And as you know, I don't like Holiday. And so you can see my thoughts on this. I don't know why, like it's just not necessary. And so it bothers me. Um so yeah. I'm not gonna say any more because I feel like everybody who listens knows how much I don't like Holiday. It is constantly brought up, I feel like. And so take that what you will. It was a little too like poppy for me. I think it's because like I don't remember what order I listened to these two first, but by the time I got to this song, it was just like pop after pop after pop, and it's kind of like what you said. The songs all sound very similar, and so I was just kind of hoping it wouldn't be as poppy as it was. Um, so there's that. And I'm not really a fan of the lyrics. Nothing super wrong with them. Just don't personally like them, and they're just a little repetitive. And so, in this case, I don't really like it. But yeah,
We did warn you guys.
it came out harsher than I meant it to.
All right, guys, music video time for No. Okay, this is the most positive thing I have, I'm pretty sure. And it's that this was definitely better than Love Sweet Love. 1000% better than Love Sweet Love. If you listen to that podcast, you know that I dragged that to hell and back. Um, 1000% better than Love Sweet Love. Still not what I would call a good music video. I thought they were going to go in a different direction with the concept, especially based off which I talked about this in the the audio part, but especially with so after I obviously had the audio, I'd listened to the song before the music video came out, right? Because it leaked. So even knowing what the song actually was about, I still thought that the music video, especially based on the snippet they released a few days before it came out, whenever it was, I thought that the song was going to be about that, but then the video might be made to be more of a clapback type of thing, about like what the media are saying about them being moms, about like women of a certain age in the music industry, just like that type of stuff. I thought that that was kind of going to maybe be the direction that the music video took, and like challenging stereotypes in that type of way. I was really hoping that like it would be a kind of maybe like storytelling music video about like learning how to say no to people in the industry, like cough labels, cough managers, like cough producers, and like standing up for yourself. And I don't know, I was just hoping for something like that. Anyway, that didn't happen. So we got the concept. I mean, to be honest, there's not a real concept. There's a basic superficial fake woman empowerment concept that my feminist side doesn't appreciate. And the music video has a lot of elements to it that raise like little tiny red flags in my brain that make me think like this made you uncomfortable and you should think more about this because it might be a thing. um I didn't take the time to think about it, so I don't have answers to what the little red flags are for you guys. And also, even if I did, to be honest, I probably wouldn't discuss them. Yeah, there are a lot of aspects of this video that make me uncomfortable. I mean, we can start with the fact that like that very like basic superficial surface level, like when you're in a relationship, like they're a man child and like don't pull their weight, is very basic and generic and something that Little Mix has done before, and so has like every other artist ever. So there's that. But then there are just also other visual elements, concept elements that are a thing. Um um yeah, so the feminist in me doesn't know how I feel about the music video, but it's not good feelings. So there's that, and I'm just gonna leave that there. I don't really want to do a big discussion on it. Okay, so what else is there? I think that the editing could have, I said this for Love Sweet Love, but I'm still saying it again, it's still true. The editing could have been so much better to make this more visually interesting and to really play into the aesthetic, because they were seemingly trying to go with like a 50s 60s housewife type of aesthetic, and the editing could have leaned into that so much and made it so much more visually interesting. And like imagine that music video if it had been shot in like black and white with like the fuzzy screen, almost looking like Bewitched or something. You know what I mean?
That would have been
Like
cool.
or like or what's another one? I don't know, but you know what I'm talking about? Like one of those
Hmm.
things. Like I feel like there were editing aesthetic choices that really could have greatly improved like the experience of watching this, that just were not used. Which is real unfortunate. I think that Little Mix misses out on a lot of great opportunities to improve their videos by not giving their editors a budget.
After Effects would have looked so cool.
After Effects would have looked so cool.
It would have been
Like
so cool.
there was so much to this, and honestly, like some of the effects in the music video were a bit cheap. Like the sparks and stuff like looked a bit, you know. Um
Mhm.
like there are so many things you could have done to make that look like the aesthetics could have been great. You know what I mean? And like without
Yeah.
any extra like strain on the girls while they were pregnant. Let's see. I felt like when they were all sitting together, maybe we could have had matching chairs. Maybe we could have been sitting in the same position, and maybe the hand choreography could have been in sync. Um, you guys know how I feel about this. um, but again, like there are ways to make the pregnancy thing work. They just weren't used. I'm not really surprised at this point because it's been the theme of all of the pregnancy videos, but still thought it in this video, thought I'd just mention it. The whole thing felt a bit generic, to be honest. It felt like it was kind of half-assed. Like I think the advert they put out with the same theme and aesthetic, or very similar aesthetic, looked so much better like a few days before Between Us came out. Um like that looked the way I wished this video had looked, or at least like a similar way with like that much editing, that much aesthetic, that much acting too. Because they were pregnant and because it was shot in a house like that was fairly small, it does feel very stagnant. Like the camera shots are very stagnant. They're very head on. There's not a lot of movement. The girls obviously aren't really moving. Jade is really the only one who is capable of like spending all day on her feet, right? So I wish she had been choreographed to move about the room, to move about the space, to use her body more, because she's standing in order to provide contrast to the fact that Larry is sitting, but like in her solo shot. But like that's all she does. She just stands there and like literally like her feet are glued to the same spot. And I just would have loved to, like, you have her, she can move around, she is not pregnant. Like I wish you had used that and created more movement in the video. And I wish that also just like the camera shots weren't so stagnant in order to like make it more visually interesting. And I wish the camera angles would have been more interesting. Yeah, I just think like the whole aspect of that, like there are ways to make these things look better that have nothing to do with the girls sitting there being pregnant, and like they just are not being used, and it's really unfortunate. Shout out to the dancers though for taking the bit of the spotlight acting wise. I'm sure for some of them it was probably out of their comfort zone, so props to them. That's kind of what I have.
I'm gonna make another Sims reference. So, you know, like the default expression in The Sims, like Sims 4 particularly, when it's like the little gray background and it's like fine. That's kind of how I feel about the video. Please tell me somebody who plays The Sims, because this will make so much more sense. um, yeah. Overall, I just kind of feel like I liked it. Feel kind of neutral, kind of similarly to how I felt about the audio. It's definitely not one of my favorites, but I also didn't like actively dislike it. I liked the wardrobe in this one. I appreciated the 2000s Juicy Couture tracksuit look that were going for in the beginning. And then in the second scene, or like really just for the rest of it, I liked the silk outfits, especially Lee and Jade's. I thought that those were nice. And I thought the general, like, just video overall worked well with the song. That's been one of my complaints. Yeah, and the theme that they had was pretty consistent throughout, like, the whole 50s idea. And so, again, another thing I had been complaining about in recent videos, so I'm glad that that wasn't the case here. Then again, I am not a big fan of that particular aesthetic, which is also a theme. Even though it was consistent, but most of my problems have to do more of kind of like what you said, like direction and production choices. Like the camera angles were great for the aesthetic, but really annoying for me because just turning the camera like 3 inches.
It was
Like
so stagnant.
you get so much depth if you just turn the camera a little bit. It didn't have to be the whole time, just like here and there. It changes the entire picture.
They did not need to be dead center every time. Use your rule of
No.
thirds. Like,
Yes, like it's just like basic concepts like that annoy me when they're not being implemented, regardless of what project it is, because it just makes everything look 10 times better.
yeah.
And I also think the set could have been better. Like you said, the chairs, had they had matched or at least been a similar style. The set itself was just bland, and like I think it was supposed to be, but just a greater budget would have been appreciated.
Yep. Yep.
And yeah, especially that being said, like with how little variety we got in the sense of outfits and location, I was expecting the set to get a little bit like I don't know,
Better.
like build. Yeah, like I don't know about like build up throughout the video, but I don't know. I was expecting there to be some type of like evolution with it, and then that didn't happen, and I was like, oh, okay. um, but then again, I think it was probably to emphasize what like the aesthetic they were going for, but it just disappointed me because it was something that just could have improved it just like the tiniest bit.
Yeah, it just took an already kind of boring like shots, like stagnant shots, and took out more things out of the frame, which made it less visually interesting.
Yeah, it was just really empty. And like if they had switched, like done one or the other, I don't think I would have the same problem. Like had the camera angles been different, but the set still be the way it was, I probably wouldn't have that big of a problem with it, and vice versa.
Mhm.
Um, and then the last thing I have was just that first scene I thought was a little unnecessary. I know it was used as more of like an allusion towards their real lives, but I didn't feel that it fit in with the rest of the video, especially considering we didn't see it again or
It
um
makes me so uncomfortable.
like I don't know. I feel like they could have used that for the teaser and just kind of left it there. Um I don't know. I just thought it was a little unnecessary.
But that's one of the things, guys, that makes me feel uncomfortable in a feminism way. Um, I can see the comments already hating on me for saying it, and now I feel like I have to say something else.
Probably.
I felt like there was a lot of performative, superficial, false feminism being used in the video concept and in the visuals for reasons that were unnecessary and didn't truly make any commentary and were not original in any way. And therefore, they were only done for clicks and likes and comedy. And I feel really uncomfortable about that because I think that you shouldn't sexualize, objectify, infantize um, people for clicks or humor. I think that obviously what they were doing was flipping a 50s, 60s housewife type of stereotype, but it actually had not much to do with the song. Um, and it like perpetuates this idea that feminism is the domination of men or like men being like subservient, and like what feminism really is like women being the dominant sex, and that's not what feminism is. And that's very much what the video portrayed because it had no real commentary, and the song has no real commentary on it. And without doing anything to twist the concept or make a commentary or do something original with it, you're not adding to a discussion. You're not having a discussion about these things at all, actually, about the history of the oppression, about the strides that have been made, about the hypocrisy, about any of it. You're just doing it for the role reversal laughs. Um, and I just don't, I feel weird about that. And I don't particularly like that choice. And I think I'm going to stop there. um so yeah, I just, like I said, I don't really want to get into a big discussion about it. But I feel like I've now stepped in it and now I need to halfway explain it. So that's me halfway explaining it. And I just something just it's raising little alarm bells in my head that tell me like this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel good. This isn't. I just have little alarm bells. And just to put this in perspective, I am not canceling anyone. I am not calling them horrible people. I am not saying anything like that. I am just pointing out that I consumed a piece of media and it triggered some bells for me. That's it. Um, like I can't tell you how literally that is most media that I encounter. Like most things are not don't pass all the checks, you know? Like most things ring some type of alarm bell. This rang alarm bells. There's not really much else to it. Moving on to the album as a whole, and we'll rank the new songs. All right, as a whole, I said this the entire time, but just to tie it up in a neat bow, um, again, it all felt very metallic. It felt like I was missing warmth and depth and emotion from literally everything, um, except Perry. And even Perry was not up to what I would usually expect. She was just doing it more and giving it more than anything else in the song. And when I say Perry, like I'm not when I say anything else, I'm not like specifically saying Lee and Jade. I mean like the instrumental, the vocal production, the backing vocals, the solo bits, like literally everything. Um so yeah, I felt like this took a lot of all of the things I didn't like about Confetti and then like tripled down on it. Um, and that really didn't go over well, obviously, for me. I'm sure some people love it. It is absolutely not for me. I don't know if like this has to do with MNEK, but I really felt like he was all over these tracks. Like you could just hear him. And I don't know if maybe like that's
Yeah.
just I don't know. Like I don't know. Maybe I'm exaggerating that in my head, but like I felt like he could have taken a lot of steps back. Like sometimes he's produced things that like I like or I don't mind, but sometimes I just oi. Um yeah, so like I said, I just really was not a fan of a lot of the stylistic choices from the instrumentals to the background vocals to production. Um it's just like it really just like was not for me. This is like I'll just be completely honest with you guys. Like I will not be recreationally listening to these. These are not it for me. I also think that the lyrics of the entire album of the new songs were disappointing. I think that the concepts were disappointing. I think that the execution of the concepts that I thought maybe had some potential were poorly done and ended up not really going anywhere. I thought that there were a lot of like missed opportunities. It was all a little disappointing in that sense. Yeah, kind of relating back, I just want to give Perry a shout out. She like stood out to me on all the songs, and was probably my favorite part of every song. I wasn't in love with it. There are definitely Perry parts and vocal moments from the rest of their songs that I love a lot more. But like in just the context of these 5 new songs, like Perry was my favorite moment of every song. Not everything she did, but like she had the stick in every song, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, I just think overall like this sound isn't for me. It's like it's not even just that I don't like it, like I it grates to listen to, and I just am really like I'm not a fan of the new direction. I wasn't a fan of it in Confetti. I'm not a fan of it now that it's, you know, tripled down on. Yeah, this one just like wasn't for me. It like I would listen to Get Weird before I would listen to this album. So I think like I don't know. For me, it's just it might be like their worst album yet. I'm just being honest with you guys. But yeah, that was just kind of like my overall thoughts on the album.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna steal what you said about it missing like the warmth. Because it doesn't feel like Little Mix.
At all.
Um no, and I'm pretty sure I said that during Confetti, but it still had like the Little Mix elements. Um but in this one it really doesn't sound like them. Um so that definitely kind of just disappointed me a little bit. And just these songs are moving back towards Get Weird, which I'm not really liking because I was excited because I really liked the Confetti album. And I was excited that it seemed like we were going to start moving more in that direction. Um, but this just sounds completely different. So there's that. And just for me, it seemed like a lot of the songs. I don't know if I've already said this, but I'll say it again. A lot of the songs were just missing stuff. So I would really like the production, but wouldn't like the lyrics, or would love the lyrics, but the production wasn't what I wanted. Um, it's just that just kept being a repeating, repetitive thing. Like I would have done things differently.
Yeah.
Um, so I am going to say I'm not going to completely put it down because the songs might be different live. I have definitely had a good amount of songs from past albums that did not like the studio version, and I love it live. So we'll see. I'll update you guys then. But right now, I am not the biggest fan. Um, and that being said, too, like I'll agree that this probably is my least favorite album. Um, just because of the sound. Um, I heard like they're really, really raw, well written songs and know that they can be better, which is, I think, why I'm disappointed because I know how well they can write. um, and the same, I'm not a fan of MNEK sound. I like it sometimes, but lately it just hasn't been my cup of tea. Um, I tried off for a second, but back to what I was saying. Um, this probably is my least favorite album, but just because I'm saying that, like, I feel like, especially this fandom, especially, but I feel like this is also a pretty common thing in any type of music fandom where their newest album has to be the best one. And so, like, if you
Yeah.
say you don't like the newest album, like, you like the first album, second album, third album, whatever, better, then you're saying that this one sucked or whatever. Like, that's not necessarily what that means. So, this is my least favorite album, but I'm not trying to bash it, if that makes sense. So, something to keep in mind because I can feel those comments coming.
Yeah, to touch on that too, um, we don't make this podcast to bash anything or to hate on anything. Like, that's literally like what would be the point?
Yeah,
Um,
we wouldn't have fan accounts if we wanted to hate on them.
we
Like,
dedicate way too much of our time, like our free time, and we're adults, like to doing this shit if we didn't care about it and didn't want to like it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So like we never are doing any of this with the intention of bashing or anything like that, but we're not mindless yes people either. And
yeah,
if we don't like something, we don't like something. Um, and so this is what came out. This is how we feel about it. And that's okay. We don't have to love it. Um, and that's fine. And it's fine if you do love it. Like that, it's all good. Um,
yeah. It's not that
but
deep, guys.
it's not like
It's songs. Like, it's not that deep. Everybody has their own taste, their own preference. It really doesn't matter.
no, like it's just it's we all have a preference, and no one is right or wrong. Just because I really don't like a lot of these things doesn't mean someone else can't love them and have that be completely and totally valid.
Hmm.
um but like for me, I think that this really was a disappointment. um and I would say it's my least favorite album. um and I mean, that's unfortunate. I wish that wasn't the case. Um, but it is, and I have been sitting with it for a few weeks now. So this isn't just like first impressions for me. Um, yeah, so I wish it was different, but this is just where we are, guys.
I feel like another thing too is that we see some of this stuff from a little bit of a different angle than what maybe the general fandom would see because we're experienced in the dance world. We're tougher on the choreography side of things
Mhm.
because we edit, we know the potential some videos can have. Like, I feel like we're a lot more aware sometimes than like just even how I was like 2 years ago. And so I feel like that's another reason why we make very like technical, like nitty gritty critiques because we see them when it's not talked about.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, like, you're right, like, because before I really got into editing, I wouldn't have thought twice about it, um,
Exactly.
but because I am, like, I in my head, I'm like, "Oh, but what if?" You know, like,
Yeah.
it definitely, like, changes how you view it as a whole, and the same thing with the choreography, like, knowing what it's like to be on stage, knowing what it should look like, and, like, all that type of stuff, it definitely does it changes the way you perceive it and then the way that you judge it, obviously.
Yeah. Which is why, like, I sometimes have a different opinion than what vocal coaches have because I'm not a singer. I don't know much about singing or music production. And so, like, that's okay. I'm not going to catch some of the things that they find.
Yeah.
Um, and, like, also, we're not like, I know, like, we keep, like, kind of reiterating this, but, like, we're not saying it to, like, just to say it, like, oh, well, this could have been better. We're not saying it just because we want to drag it or we want to
We're
just
not
point
trying
it
to
out.
pointlessly, like, point out negative
Yes.
things. That's not the
Yeah.
intention.
We want to talk about, like, what if they could have done this? Like, what if it could have looked like this just because I don't know. I'm curious to know what other people would have liked or
I would love to see a fan, take the No music video and put it through proper editing. Like, I would love
yeah.
to see someone go in and do After Effects. It'll be, like, a little bit harder since you only have the pre-made thing and not the raw footage, but, like, I would love to see someone go in and, like, really, like, go hard, and just, like, see what it potentially could have looked like if they had spent more on the editing, because I really do think that, like, it could have had a lot of potential in that way, and it's just like it's like a missed opportunity, you know, like, um,
Mhm.
and, like, I just think that I mean, God, if I had more time, I would do it, but, like, I just think that, like, we always wanna have constructive conversations about these things and, when possible, productive ones. Um, Obviously, like, there's nothing productive to be necessarily done about us just, like, talking about an album, but then if it's not productive, hopefully it's constructive. Um,
yeah.
we're not just sitting here listing all the things we don't like, we're talking about the things that we saw potential in, the things that we would have liked to have seen done this in order to improve them, the things that, you know, she liked that I didn't notice that I agree with, or, like, whatever it is, it's we're never just, like, pointlessly putting out negative shit into the air.
Yeah, we want a discussion, not an accusation.
Yeah. Alright, do you wanna move on to the very last thing, the ranking of the new songs?
Yes.
Okay. At number 1, the top song off of Between Us is
Da-da-da-da.
Trash!
Woo! Like, come on, guys, it's good. I really like it. I feel like it's grown on me in the time we've spent like talking and recording today. I don't know why.
Guys, when we started, okay, so disclaimer, we did totally talk about all of this before we hit record, if you couldn't tell.
Yes.
So, um, so we talked about all of them, right? And obviously talked about trash. And guys, like, we started and I was literally like, trash is,
Trash.
well, yep. I didn't say it. And so,
You implemented it.
I didn't say it. So, um, And it's not necessarily that I think that that's not true anymore, so much as that I have learned to appreciate trash.
You've come to the dark side.
And it has two genuine parts of the song that I like. And you know what? That's something to be celebrated on this album. So I feel like I really was going too hard on it. And just through the course of us talking before we started recording and then when we did record, like, I really thought Trash was like, gonna be at the bottom of this ranking, guys. But lo and behold, Trash is number one.
I think too, like, I don't know why this song just like right off the bat has been one I liked. Like even when we were listening to it the last time we talked, like
Yeah.
I was like, you were talking about, it, and I was like, wait, I kind of like it.
I know. No, guys, I like I said to you guys, right? I think we started with Trash. Like, I won't be listening
Yeah.
to Trash. I won't be listening to any of them recreationally. So again, within context is the ring gang. But like, despite everything I said, it has enough elements that I genuinely like that it gets first place, and like you can't deny it that. So
Yeah,
it really went up like a lot of levels
I'm so
throughout
happy it got
this recording process. Really did.
It was no brainer.
Nope. Nope. All right, number 2. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Number 2 of Between Us is Love Sweet Love.
Yes.
Guys, we didn't pre-plan. These are just we're matching up right now.
I think it goes off after this one.
I think it does, yeah. Yeah, so I know what I said in the review for Love Sweet Love.
I was gonna say the same thing.
And I still stand by everything that I said. But I hadn't heard the other songs yet. Everything in context is really the key.
Yeah, I also would like to revisit what I said in the last time we talked about it. Yeah, no, I still like what you said. I still stand by a lot of the stuff I said, but I will say it is growing on me in the past couple of weeks. It has. I wouldn't say I've been listening to it recreationally, but it's come on just when I have like all my music shuffled and I don't turn it off, and so like little bits that I wasn't a fan of before, I'm slowly starting to like Jade's part, like I had mentioned
Simlish
earlier.
Jade.
Yeah, like just little bits that I was like, ooh, at first, I'm starting to like, and so it's not as bad of a song as I had made it out to be, I will admit. But then again, that being said, I still think Trash is better.
Number 3 is actually, I don't really know, to be honest, because I'm kind of like flip-flopping on 3 and 4.
Me too.
But I don't know if I want to tie them, but I also can't make the decision of whether I want to switch them. So we're just going to go with the order they're in, and you guys can flip them if you want to flip them if it makes you feel better. So number 3, I have No.
I have Cut You Off.
No was less disappointing than the other two, so that's why I have it at 3rd.
I can also switch 3 and 4. So for future reference. But I think I put Cut You Off at 3 just because I liked the structure of it more than I did the other two. Like just the way it was structured and the melody of it was more catchy to me than the other two were.
Okay, number 4 is dun-dun-dun. I guess I feel like we did this in the wrong order. Who cares? Okay. 4 is Between Us.
I have no.
um I Okay, so here's the thing. I feel the urge to put it at number 3 because it's not about romance. But at the same time, the message just isn't hitting. And and that's really disappointing. And like I said, it was more disappointing than No was. So it just like that little like that alone just kind of keeps it at 4.
I put No at 4 just because I this song did grow on me from like the first few times I listened to it. And so that gave it some brownie points just because I was like, okay, this it's not what my initial reaction was like. Um but I'm also not super keen on it, and it's just it sounds like we've already said, like Cut You Off and Trash, but I prefer the other two over this one.
Mm.
And that was like the line. So, but again, you could switch it and I wouldn't really care. But I'm just gonna keep it there.
And number 5 is Cut You Off.
Between us.
I feel like you could make an educated guess of why it is not number 5 for me based on what we've already discussed.
I think Between Us was just the song I was anticipating the most and was the most disappointed in. Um, because it was the album song, like same name. It was really hyped up, but then it wasn't what I wanted it to be. And because I'm petty, I put it at the bottom because I wanted a ballad. Yeah, it's just again, I just keep saying things I've already said, but I like production more than lyrics, and because for me, I have to be able to listen to it, like it needs to be pleasing to my ears, um, before like lyrics, and so this one, the instrumental just really messed me up. So, despite it being overall the best written song, it fell.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is.
All right, guys, so that is our ranking. I apologize that I did it in the wrong order, but there were only 5 of them, so I feel like it was fine.
Yeah.
All right, so we covered all of it, right? We did Cut You Off, we did Trash, we did Between Us, we did the No song, the No music video, we did the album. I think we nailed this. It's
Look at
definitely a
us.
long episode. I'm sorry if you loved this album and were really disappointed by our thoughts. You are totally free to love this album, and that's completely valid and fine. We are just not part of that group. But we hope that you guys enjoyed our thoughts and just listening to what we would have liked or what we saw potential in, and the changes that we would have made. Um, as always, please be respectful of us as well as the other people in the comment section. And I think that, we'll just see you guys next week.